So that wasn't Happy Tree Friends. It wasn't, I don't think it was a really bad watch, but it's not I wouldn't suggest it to anybody. So when I say these are my immediate thoughts, I mean these are like, I literally just finished the show less than a minute ago. And by finish the show, I mean the original 2006 TV run, as opposed to like the 5 seasons worth of what's on the internet on Mondo TV on their YouTube channel. Now maybe the TV version is like worse than the internet version, but I honestly, I don't think that there's gonna be that big of a difference. And honestly, I have watched a lot of the show. I mean, there's 39 segments and each one is 7 minutes. You do the math, that's a lot. But yeah, as I said, I mean, I didn't hate it like I did with Pork Chop and Flat Screen or anything, but it's just, there's just a lot of flaws with it in my personal opinion, and a lot of it is just what I find personally enjoyable in media. Like, I'm not like, I don't really enjoy that much. I can enjoy cartoons that are episodic. Ren and Stimpy, good example of a really funny episodic cartoon where every single episode does not matter. Everything just resets at the end, and then we just are put into a new scenario with the same characters. SpongeBob is good, and that's a fully, completely episodic show. This is also a fully, completely episodic show, but I don't really like it, and that's because I need to establish this now. For one, these are my personal things when it comes to jokes and stuff. I don't find gore funny ever. I always just find it uncomfortable. To be honest, I don't find the hyper violence that's for one. And for two, for me, jokes get old to me if I hear them a few times really fast. Happy Tree Friends, unlike SpongeBob, unlike Ren and Stimpy, is not a character driven show. It's not like, oh, these are the characters, these are the personalities, we're gonna put them in all kinds of different situations, and they're simple, but you can think about what they'd be like in these different situations, so it's gonna be funny. It's not like that. It is gimmick based. The entire show is a gimmick. It is a gimmick. And gimmicks, the thing about them with shows is that if they're not used carefully, well, even if they're used carefully, they get old fast. Bits, it's not like a bit where it's like, bits are funny because the two people who have the bit, or the group that has the bit, or the community that has the bit, they like get where it comes from, and they get it because, and they think it's funny because they know each other. A gimmick is just like it's like a trick. It's like a one trick kind of thing. It's like a one trick kind of pony. The gimmick with Happy Tree Friends is that it looks like it's a kid show, but it's not, because gore. And it goes out of its way as to, in every conceivable possible way, to look like a kid show. None of the characters speak. Look at the freaking art style. It's soft, it's cartoony, it's silly looking. The music is like orchestral kind of, and it's like very it's like stuff that you've heard in a cartoon, in a normal cartoon before. But then there's just gore, and this is the main show's gimmick. And I won't lie, it is very creative a lot of the time with its gore, with its violent jokes, with all of that. And some of the characters are very creative, and I'll get into that in a moment. But it's like, if this is your central gimmick, it's like, this is obviously going to get old as soon as people know your shtick. As soon as people know your secret, it's just gonna get old, like instantly. And to me, the whole bit got old by like episode 3. It's like, yeah, I get it. It looks like a kid's show and there's gore. Is there anything more than that? And if you're looking for more than that, then we have to turn to the characters. But I just want to say again, I don't find gore funny, really. I don't find that kind of hyper violent slapstick stuff super fun. I just find it really disturbing, and in some scenes I swear it's just there to be disturbing. And if that's the point, okay, you did a good job, but it's just like gross and like hard to watch. Like, for example, I think in episode 11, no, I think it was episode 11 where Disco Bear gets splashed with the hair potion, like a potion that makes your hair grow out really fast, and he makes a bath of it. He jumps in, and then hair starts growing on his eyes, and he pulls out a hair that grew on his eye, and then a ton of hair grew up on his eye, and then he sliced off his freaking eyes. If that was supposed to be funny, I don't. I guess it was. But if it was supposed to be disturbing, you won. Yeah, you made me want to turn off the cartoon. I didn't want to. I didn't want to see that. Like, that was creepy. Or in the exact same episode, in like segment 1 or something, where Sniffles tries to kill the ants, and then he gets his hand sewed to the floor, and then he gets tortured by the. I mean, I feel like it's formatted like a joke, but it's just. I just find it disturbing and gross, man. I don't. It's not my thing. And if you find that funny, that's okay. That's where the subjectiveness in that comes from. But the objective fact of the matter, though, is that if this is your only joke, it's gonna get old. Jokes get old. This is why memes die out. Like, for example, why do communities, like insular communities, why do they dislike it whenever whatever their inside joke or bit like gets out and starts getting big? It's because people start repeating it. They don't understand where it comes from, and because they start repeating it and everyone's now heard it before, now it's old. It's no longer special. That's why some people don't like it whenever like inside friend group bits get out, because now it's no longer a special thing. It's like everyone just finds this funny now, so it's like now it's just not funny. That's why whenever your parents quote like a meme or something, it's really cringy, because literally everyone knows about it, and so it's no longer special or funny because of that, because now you've heard it 1,000 times. And Happy Tree Friends is kind of like that when it comes to its gore, in my opinion. It's extremely repetitive with its jokes because it's a gimmick show. Outside of that, if you want more than just the violence or gore, well, I'm sorry, you should have watched something else, right? But there is a little bit more outside of the gore and stuff, and that's the characters. You could be in it because you like the characters. That's also fair, I guess. But the thing about the characters is that they're also mostly gimmicks to shake up the main gimmick of the show being a lot of violence happening. Like, for example, Lumpy's whole deal is that he has the most interpretable English, but he's really stupid. So he ends up doing things that end up. Oh yeah, and also every single episode, the characters are put in a different situation, yes, but how the gore and violence ends up happening is always the same. It's always the stacking of a lot of little issues over the time, and then everything falls apart. That's how it happens every single time. But anyway, the characters also follow their own gimmicks, ranging from being actually funny, complex, and creative, and very funny, to like just like kind of lame. So for example, I want to talk about my least favorite one, Pop and Cub. So Pop and Cub's whole thing is that Cub, a lot of the time, because he's a baby, gets in trouble and does stupid things. And so his dad is always trying to protect him because he's his dad. But the gimmick is that every single time Pop comes in to try and help, he accidentally causes Cub to die. And usually he's like, no, right afterwards. And I personally think that this just being their whole dynamic is just like, partially because it's also overused, but also partially because this is the most predictable bit in the entire show. And it's like, when you see these two characters, you already know what's gonna happen. Eventually, at some point, it doesn't matter how creative or really crazy the death is, that the gory death that happens to both Pop and or Cub. It's just like you just know what the joke is going to be before it happens, because it's this whole bit. And it's extremely one-dimensional, and a lot of the characters are pretty one-dimensional, or their bits just aren't that funny. Flaky is a good example. With her, she's named Flaky, so she flakes out, so she's a coward. She's very cowardly, she's very scared. They don't do that much with this in the show, but she also has flakes that fall off of her, because that's just her name. She's just Flaky, so flakes fall off of her. I think it's a really lame gimmick. I think that's really predictable and easy kind of thing to do, and there really isn't that much you could do with her just being like a scaredy cat, I guess. So she only gets one focus segment. That's it. Petunia, I liked Petunia because her gimmick was just like she's an OCD clean freak. She's a neat freak. She goes crazy trying to clean things, and it was funny because they used it occasionally. So that one wasn't that bad. And then there's Flicky. I like Flicky's thing, but I think that he should have been used a bit more. I meant Flicky. I just said Flicky. I meant Flippy. Flippy. His name is Flippy because of PTSD, he flips to an alter ego named Flicky or something like that. And then that Flicky alter ego is this extremely powerful, like, super like evil being who goes around and kills people. And it is funny when he kills people. It is kind of funny. It is entertaining. I found that entertaining because it's like he's the only character that goes out of his way to intentionally kill people, and that's different from everyone else. And plus, it's also pretty rarely used. It's only in like earlier episodes, in like the last few episodes, is that like mainly a thing. But I do think that in episode 13, when Flippy was fighting Flicky, his evil clone, and I thought the lore where it was like, oh, he's fighting him because Flip. I thought that he was in his head because it's like, oh, they're teleporting around a lot during this fight. That doesn't make any sense. But I thought the lore of it being inside of his head and like he's fighting this demon and he finally gets over it, even though he just dies instantly after, which is funny after all that stuff happened. I thought that was cool lore. But I think it would have been more impactful if he was a more present force throughout the TV run of Happy Tree Friends. But as you can see, a lot of the characters, they just have like a one-dimensional gimmick that's really simple, and this sounds really bad, right? But one of the characters does not have I'd say two of the characters don't have a super one-dimensional gimmick, and that would be Handy and the Mole. So first, the Mole's whole thing is that he's always in a job that requires eyesight, but he's blind, or he's always given a task that requires you to be able to see, but he's blind. All I notice is the one-dimensional blind jokes. I only notice, okay, he's blind, so of course he'd like fall off a cliff or whatever because he can't see. But then I realize that, oh wait, by like episode 6 or 7, I realized this guy's being put in jobs that he should not be in because of like who he is. I thought that was funny for a little while, and then it's like when I realized that, I was like, oh, the show's just gonna do that over and over, and the show just does it over and over, and so it's not funny because of how much the Mole is used. He's in like every other segment. He's like in like every other episode. The show really has repetition problems. Like, why is the Mole in like every single episode? And also, why is Lumpy in like every single episode too? Like, he's stupid, so he causes issues, and it's like that's the whole joke of Lumpy basically. But he's in like every single episode. That's his whole gimmick. He's just stupid, so he causes issues. That's like, it's, at some point that stops being funny, right? It just kind of starts getting a little annoying when in every single episode the issues are caused by the same guy. And also part of Lumpy's gimmick is that he's always in a position of authority, although he doesn't deserve to be because he's dumb and definitely not qualified. And it's like, I get it. I get the joke. He's stupid. I get it. We don't need every single episode to have this guy. Like, I mean it. Like, every episode has him, and it's like we just didn't need that. And same with the Mole. I say it uses gimmicky characters well, but not well enough, because it's like these characters always center around something. And about Handy, I wanted to talk about Handy because he was my favorite character. I think that the funniest jokes, the show fails at really using the fact that it's for adults into consideration, because I think that it would have been way funnier to have way more indirect jokes with way more indirect jokes, as in jokes that you have to like realize and wait and be like, oh wait, that's a joke. You have to like actually piece together like the puzzle pieces in your head to realize, oh, that's the joke. I get it now. I think that jokes like that are way funnier than just telling a straight joke a lot of the time, especially for a show like this that is just like no characters speak. And one of the best indirect jokes is Handy's whole existence. There are very obvious, clear jokes about Handy not being able to like literally grab things because he has no hands, right? So Handy's whole gimmick is that he can operate machines and do construction work and stuff like that off screen. But when he's on screen, he can't use his hands, so he can't do that work. And his whole thing is that whenever he needs to use his hands, which is very often when he's on screen, he then sternly looks at the audience in annoyance, like, because we are watching him, and he knows that because we're watching him and he doesn't have hands, that he can't do the work, so he's pissed at us for watching. Like, that's so funny. That is so funny. You know how long that took me to like piece that together? I was like, holy shit. And so once I got that was funny. I think that that's how you make a bit. The more complex the bit is, the more it takes to piece together the bit and understand what it is and why it's funny, or why the punchline is being used in the first place is why it's funny. It's just like how, like, if you have a friend group and you refer to like an incident that happened like 8 months ago, someone who doesn't know you guys that well isn't going to get the bit. But you guys get the bit because you experienced it and you have that complex, specific knowledge of what happened. And that's why it's funny. And the show with Handy does that really well by both not overusing him and also having the joke be complex. And that's something I think only really adults are going to piece together and really get. Handy's my favorite character because of that. He's the funniest character in the entire series because of that very complex joke. And hell, maybe there are some jokes that I missed too, but there are just kind of mid characters. Like I'd say the Mime, I'd say Sniffles is pretty mid, Nutty is pretty mid. Nutty's whole thing is that he likes sweets and he'll go crazy for them. And it's like okay, it's a little funny sometimes, but not really. And like Sniffles' whole thing is that he's smart, but like his smart inventions always get him killed or other people in danger and stuff. And like the Mime's whole thing is that he's silent. And each of these characters had a few funny moments that were like entertaining and interesting, but it's just like eventually at some point, because of how the show works, it's just whenever because it's so gimmick, it's so reliant on these fucking gimmicks that it's like when you see these characters, you just know what they're going to do and how they're going to tell the joke and etc. Like you just know. And because you just know, it hurts the show. It makes it kind of a drag to get through eventually. And this is all through the gore in every single episode. And as a person, and if you don't like gore that much, you're just not going to enjoy the show that much. Even though it has really smartly written characters like Handy, where you have to like piece together why he's doing the thing that he's doing. I thought it was like I didn't catch on to that until like it took me a little while to actually catch on to the Handy thing. Maybe I'm just really stupid or something. Maybe you guys immediately caught on to that like the first time he sternly looked at the audience, where he's like, "Ugh." But it took me a minute, and that's why I found it to be the funniest. I just found it as a really repetitive and eventually just predictable experience. At first, it wasn't that predictable, but sometimes jokes just get so like obviously like I just know what's gonna happen. Like there's one episode where Cuddles is a mailman, and then he's stopped by a train. I think this is in the Petunia episode or something. Where I think this is the Petunia episode. No, it's not the Petunia episode. But it's one where Cuddles is like the mailman, and then the train thing that stops your car from going, that tells you when a train is coming, it malfunctions. So then he's like, okay, I can go. And then the train comes, and then he's like, okay, I guess okay. And then he stops at the perfect time. Then he gets out, and I was like, okay, this guy's obviously still gonna die somehow. And then he dies, and it's like yeah, obviously he was gonna die. Like it just didn't make me laugh. Oh yeah, and also I think two good characters I actually just forgot about were Shifty and Lifty. Shifty and Lifty were pretty good characters. I like them. Their whole thing, they're also just gimmick based. Their whole thing is that they're just thieves, but they always fail at their job and die horribly. And they'll do anything for a bag type shit. They were mostly used in earlier episodes, but then they slowly stopped using them. I actually think that the writing for the jokes got worse and worse and worse until episode 13. Like in the middle point, like near the end middle point, it just got worse and worse. And at some point I was just like sitting there just blankly watching the screen. Now again, I didn't hate the experience. I just thought it was mid. Like the show is just kind of mid, and it's not really that great. I don't know why so many people, well, I do know why. It's because of the gimmick. It's because the show is a gimmicky kind of thing. I'm honestly surprised that it has so many fans. And I think that that's actually why it failed to really capture any adult fans. Like you can just look up Happy Tree Friends and tell by the art, the animations people are making, and the shipping and all this other weird crap that only kids are watching it. It's because the show doesn't really have, like the Handy thing is like one of the most, the Handy thing is a complex bit, and that's like all it has. If all the characters were like based around complex bits, I would like the show more. But it's just not. It's not the smartest thing in the world, and it's not the most, it just wasn't that good. One thing I did like though is the music. I thought the music was really well done, especially with Flippy in some sections. In all the sections actually with Flippy, it was incredible. When I liked that the songs sounded whimsical and fun, like a kid's show, but when disturbing stuff started happening, the music actually slowly got disturbing. And especially with the Flippy parts, you can hear, like, especially in the last episode where Flippy's like fighting Flicky or whatever, however the hell you pronounce that, Fliqpy. Like, what the hell even is that? How do you pronounce that? when he's fighting him, I like that every single time Flippy is just chilling, there's always like extra militaristic drums in the music in the background for when stuff is happening. I thought that was a really smart move. To show that Flippy is not actually out of his war zone, and at any point, out of a wartime thought, and at any point, anything can just set him off immediately due to his PTSD. I thought that was a really smart move, but it tries its best to not be repetitive, but because it relies a lot on like Lumpy and and the Mole for jokes, and it's just kind of lame. And the gimmickless characters are so forgettable. Maybe they weren't gimmickless, but characters like Cuddles, Toothy, and Giggles. Giggles is a queen. I like Giggles. She's cute as hell. She has no gimmick though, and she's not that memorable of a character. Cuddles just kind of exists. I mean, he just has like pink slippers on, and he dies. And like I get it. I guess I get it. There has to be some filler characters, but it's like, those are my immediate thoughts. I guess the show, my review on it is gonna. As you can see, this is just like a surprise. I'm reviewing Happy Tree Friends before Pork Chop and Flat Screen. That's why I knocked the date back. But I don't think the show, like, I get why people like it. I just don't think it's that good. I don't think it's all that. And the show's pretty mid. It's not something I'd ever suggest to anyone. I was more confused by the gore than anything. I felt like it was both there to be disturbing and funny, which is like I don't know, like the punchline of Flippy getting immediately ran over in episode 13 by the end was pretty funny, and it being like hyper violent and crazy. I thought that was pretty funny when the rest of the episode wasn't. But that's a juxtaposition kind of joke, and that's why that was funny. There are basically no other juxtaposition jokes because the episode wasn't that violent until the big fight. And it's like the show's smart. It's like sometimes the show's really smart, but most of the time it's just not. It's just not smart. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Hopefully you like my Happy Tree Friends review when it comes out. I'm going to be working on this real quick. So yeah, I'll see you guys when that review comes out. No, I don't want to. Okay. I just opened Windows or something. Oh yeah, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Go to the gym. Lock in. Goodbye, guys.